What's up, everyone? I'm Merk, and this is Trading Shots, a show where our panelists debate all things CWL. I'm handing out points for strong arguments and hot takes. We've got a very special Fort Worth episode in store for you, and for that, we had to bring in the undefeated one. Welcome back to Benson, Pac-Man, and Nameless. Guys, how we feeling today?
Such a privilege to have the unbeaten one.
Yep.
The smartest man in Call of Duty.
It's not every day you get a chance to go against the unbeaten.
The unbeaten.
It's a privilege.
It's
a privilege.
You guys have a chance to take that title away from me. But
I feel so blessed.
So you guys excited for Fort Worth next week?
Blessed.
I can't wait. I can't wait. But before that, I'm so excited to hear what the wisdom and the knowledge is going to bring to today's show.
All right, let's get in the first blood. Here we go. The pools for Fort Worth were drawn after divisional play finished. Let's go ahead and take a look at them now. Well, for first blood, I'm going to give each of you a pool, and you have to predict who will come out of it. Nameless, you're up first. I'm going to give you Pool A.
I mean, it's pretty hard to say anything other than Gen G and Heretics, right? Like, Heretics, they started off their Pro League division on a hot streak. They were dominating. They started off beating E United, and then they kind of coasted to that 4-0. They start to lose a couple matches, but, over time, you're bound to lose a game. That happens in every single Pro League. You start to let up, and you start to try to test your map pool. But now they know what they're really good at, and they're also not going up against the best of competition here. UYU and Denial haven't looked too good. Denial didn't even switch their roster. They're the only team of the bottom 5 teams in terms of record and statistics in the league to not change. So you look at that and you're like, okay, we're definitely going to win that. And then you got Gen G as well, who, they made a change trying to upgrade, and they look great the whole time. #1 in their division overall. Like, this is just a solid team, and those two teams will be the ones coming out.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get to those roster changes a little bit later. There's been a lot of drama across the league, a lot of roster changes, but we're going to focus on these pools first. Pac-Man, Pool B, who are the top 2. And again, this is just who's getting out to the winners bracket. Those bottom 2 teams will go to the losers bracket, but I want to know who's coming out to winners.
So for me, first off, I have to go with the 100 Thieves. They just look so strong in their 2 weeks. They improved drastically. They came off a perfect week. They finished 8-2 in hardpoint. Their only struggle really was search and destroy. They were 4-4, and we all saw them choke one tremendously. So if they improve at all in that aspect, I can't see a way that 100 Thieves doesn't come out the way that Priesta and Slasher played. If they keep up even with a little bit of that pace, they're gonna make it out. Now the other one is Red Reserve and EG. I know EG struggled so hard in their time at the league, but something about them. They were a top 8 team at Vegas. They finished the PLQ 5-1. They made a roster change. The only issue is, I don't know if that roster change is going to be enough. They struggled too hard in control. They were 1-6. They didn't win a search their entire time. Now, they have beaten Red Reserve twice now. They're 2-1 in a match count versus them. The issue is they got 3-0 last time, and Red Reserve still has the map win advantage, 7-6, even though they lost 2 series. I'm going to go with Red Reserve as the second team to come out of that. I just think that they're too strong. There's not enough from EG.
That was a tough one for you, wasn't it?
It was because they do have the advantage in match count versus Red Reserve. But Red Reserve has improved to the point where I have to go with them.
Okay.
That was a great point, Joe. You should give him an extra point. I like that, Pac-Man. That was good.
This is collusion right here.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I'm watching you.
I just think that was a fantastic point.
Thank you very much, Ben. Thank you very much.
You're up next. Pool C, who are the top 2?
So for me, coming in, if you'd asked me this question last week, it would have been a little more difficult, Joe. But it's simple. This is the easiest one. So thank you for giving me the easiest one.
Sure.
It's Splyce and LG. And I don't see how you can argue anything else at this point. And the reason behind it is you would think Midnight, you look at the record in the league, they're 5-2. Wow, what a record. They're surely going to cause some upsets. We'll get to that a little bit later on. They're no longer a contender in my mind. Why? You get a brand new squad. It's going to take time to get chemistry, and you simply just don't have that time. It's plain and simple. On the other side, Accelerate, 1-6. All right, they've made some changes as well, which, again, I'm sure we'll talk on a little bit later on, Joe, but I don't think they have the panache to take on the likes of Splyce and LG. I could sit here and bore you with map records, but at the end of the day, both those 2 teams, they're just the better teams in the group.
All right, so you go with Splyce and Luminosity out of that one. And up next, we left one pool. It comes down to Pool D. The reason, well, we started off, we were talking about what's going to be the pool of death. Maybe we start with that question, but I think everybody agrees that Pool D is the pool of death. When you look at this one from top to bottom, there are some heavy hitters. Ben, we'll start with you. The top 2, who gets out into the winners bracket out of Pool D?
So it's interesting. I had some kind of head-to-head records that I'll break down for you. United versus Reciprocity at Vegas. United 3-0 them. OG versus United Vegas, 3-1 Optic Gaming. OG versus Reciprocity at the Pro League, 3-1 Optic Gaming. MV 3-0 United at the Pro League. So some interesting numbers to break it down. Optic Gaming, without a doubt, they come out probably #1, more than likely. We haven't seen Dashy play in quite some time. I'm sure he's ready and waiting to make a point and maybe answer any of the critics which have said, oh, well, they're not going to be the same. Oh, there's no Tempest. Whatever, doesn't matter. I think Optic Gaming comfortably come out number 1. Then the question to me is, who's number 2? There's an argument to be made for reciprocity, and I think that's a very good argument, but that isn't who I'm going with. I just don't think they have it in them. I think you look at Envy, you look at E United. The safe bet here is E United. In my mind, Envy have had a lot of struggles in their Game 5s, closing out series, and they just haven't looked decisive enough. They haven't been cutthroat enough. So for me, I'm playing it safe, Joe. I'm going to say United number 2.
Yeah, you're going for the top 2, right? The top 2 from Vegas. We're going to have that rematch Friday night at Fort Worth. It's going to be a fun one. Pack top 2, Pool D. Who you think?
Well, of course, I'm going to have to agree with him on the Optic. You just have to. And it's, for me, they're getting Dashy back, but more so, they're getting Scump back. Like, Scump for Maddox, he had a .97 throughout his time in the POQ. At Vegas, he had a 1.2 with a Salt. He's getting his roll back. It's just too hard to not see them come out on top. And then the second spot, I'm gonna go with the United as well. I just feel like even when they're struggling, even when they're not at their best, they always make it out of pools. When's the last time United didn't make it out of pools in winners? No one can tell me. They always make it out of pool in winners, and Envy just has too much inconsistency. Like, I could see them even beating United again like they did, but then losing reciprocity and end up losing their map count record or something like that. Like, they're so inconsistent. They rely too much on Hook. The other players have stepped up a little bit. Silly definitely stepped up. But if they went back to that form where we just didn't see them performing at the high level together, would anyone be surprised? And I think the answer is no. United picked up JCap and Abizi. They've been so much more clutch. I have to go with the United.
Yeah, so both of you guys not really trusting Envy or Reciprocity just yet. Ant, the top 2 out of Pool D. Are you switching it up or you go with these guys?
All right, so they both pretty much talked about Optic, and I agree on both sides. The map record's obviously huge. You know, getting Scump back, obviously huge. Dashy as well. Optic's gonna get first. No doubt in my mind that they get first. On the side of the team that gets second, I think it's gonna be Envy. In the last match where we saw Envy play United, they destroyed them. It was 3-0, absolute obliteration. United's went through a lot of turmoil recently. I know that, you know, Envy also had some talks, but they decided to stick it out. They decided to keep that team. And Envy, you know, they looked a lot better towards the end. Their last couple of games, Apathy stepped up. Silly had monster performances the entire 2 weeks. Hook obviously had monster performances as well. And I think Envy is a team where if they go into that United match again, they have that history of where they beat them. All they have to do is just beat United. And I have them, you know, convincingly beating Reciprocity as well. So I think it's gonna be Optic first, Envy number 2, United. They could lose to Reciprocity too. I just don't have too much faith in that team after some of the matches they had to win. They were winning Game 5s where they had to clutch up, where Abizi had to get crazy 3 pieces.
I don't feel like you can give a team a negative record for clutching up. Like, clutching up is a good thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So why would you use that as a negative?
So my thing is,
and you're talking about a team that got second place.
So my thing about United is, since that second place in the league, they had all these clutch performances where players had to step up and clutch up, and then they have that turmoil where they want to make a change. They end up not going through with it, and we all know that there was a lot of stuff going on in the internal of that. I've been on pro teams before. I know how that is, and I know Clayster personally, and I know he takes stuff like that to heart, and I really think that it's going to affect this team.
That's a fair point, but Envy also wanted to change.
Yeah.
Hook wanted to be off Envy. Hook wanted to go to multiple other teams.
So
to say that
Hook
just
is a
about
different person than Clayster, though. Hook can get through that
but
stuff.
Hook also has teammates. So
All
we're
right.
not just talking about Hook. Hook's teammates can be affected by it.
But we're talking about
by
the
their
player
superstar
that
wanting
wanted
to
to
leave
actually
their
leave.
team.
Is Hook actually wanted to leave, and
Yes.
this has happened multiple times, and Envy has dealt with it. Hook can deal with that.
I feel like Clay being in this situation is not going to be able to deal with that. It's happened time and time again in the history of his COD career. It affects him deeply. I teamed with him after it happened to him on Optic Gaming. I remember how he reacted to it. It was not good. It took him a little bit to get back into that headspace.
Hook is a different story to me. I think
right.
it's a lot different with him.
Great points from both of you, but something else just to consider as well. It's a brand new format, right? You think about how the pool system is going to work. You're only going to play 3 games as opposed to 4. You're not going to have that, quote, freebie game of the open bracket team coming through. So to both of your points, you start slow, you can't afford to start slow
Yeah, I
anymore,
mean,
right?
all Envy has to do
One
is beat
upset.
them. That's it.
I mean, sure, but you can say that on any day, right? All you have to do is win, and you're going to be fine.
destroyed
Of
them in their
course.
last game.
But
Yeah,
if you,
I have faith in them
which
winning
is fair, they 3-0'd them, and it wasn't close. But if you do start slow and you struggle to close out, which Envy have so far this year, you're not going top 2 in your pool.
It's a
just not gonna
prediction.
happen.
And also,
We will see.
You have to give? We're just giving Optic first, but which of those 2 teams do you give a better chance against Optic? They still gotta play that match, and I feel like United has a better chance.
All right, and you guys could see why Pool D has been the pool of death, right? We knew this discussion was going to happen, but none of you guys, with the recent addition of Dylan on the Reciprocity, you just don't trust that team yet. You got to see more.
I gotta see
I
more
watched
of
them
that.
give away too many maps to
Okay.
have them coming out top 2.
Dylan hasn't played on LAN in a very long time.
Sure.
So it's tough to see them coming out, and you don't get any warm-up games here, like in Pool D.
Sure.
You're just coming out the gates and you're playing 3 very good teams. So for Reciprocity, I think it's going to be like a learning experience in the beginning, and I think they might lose a couple games because of that. But in bracket, they might be able to make something happen.
All right, that's going to do it for a very fun first blood. And yeah, Dallas-Fort Worth right around the corner. Let's go ahead and take a look at the scores. It's a pretty close one. A lot of you guys had a lot of great points, but Pac-Man, that's going to put you in the lead. Nameless Ben, you guys are right behind him. Yes, you're in last, but you'll be up first for Quickscope. Speaking of Quickscope, let's get right into it. You have 30 seconds. And for this week, we're mixing it up. Roster Mania has hit once again, and we're going to grade those moves. We had a lot of fun with this last year. First up, Gen G picked up Envoy for Spacely. This surprised a lot of people. Gen G, we're 6-1. Nameless, you're mind blown. Let's start with you first.
All right, Gen G 6-1, right? They were losing a lot of their game ones and then winning 3 games in a row. You pick up Envoy, who's he's a solid player. He's great on his team. He's up-and-coming rising star. I thought he's great. But you're Gen G and you're 6-1. The chemistry's there. Every interview that they did, every time we saw a player on Gen G go up to the podium and talk to Jess, it was all about this brotherhood, this family that they had, going back, watching the games, fixing their issues, and going the next day. Work as usual. And they would win pretty much all their games, but one. I just don't see, the justification to making that change. You go into the next event, and if you don't get top 4, why did you make that change? You're first place in your division. You should be getting top 4 at the very next event. It makes no sense to me. It actually angered me because Spacey didn't play that bad either. It's mind-blowing.
I'm not wearing a watch. but I
It's
feel
all
like that
good.
was over.
I mean, you can't talk about that in 30
was the
seconds,
grade,
though.
eh?
It's just like,
Well, that's the point of the show.
okay. Well, my grade for that roster change is a C-.
C-. You're going for a C.
Nice.
Oh, you're giving it. All right, so we'll go with C-. Not maybe a D or an F that I was expecting. Ben,
D.
what's your grade? Yeah,
D.
right away.
Straight
D.
off the rip. It's a D.
a D.
It's a D straight off the rip, and here's why. Nameless brings up some great points. You're 6-1. What are you doing? Like, why are you changing? You're a great team. You're number 1 in your division comfortably. You want to talk some stats? Here's some stats for you. It's basically a 0.9 in Respawn, Envoy, a 1.06. Is it really that big of an improvement? I mean, you were losing map 1 consistently, and then you went on to win 3 in a row anyway. You were winning 2 of the remaining respawns in a best of 5. You want to talk Search and Destroy? A 1.15 for Spacey, a 1.07 for Envoy. You've not improved in that either. So to me, I don't see the benefit, Joe. And you talk about the intangibles as well. Nah, it's a bad decision. Bad decision. I hate
All right,
it,
so
hate
you're
it,
going,
hate it.
would you say D? A
D.
D out of you. Pac-Man, you're last up because you're in first place. What do you think out of this move from Gen G?
I'm just going to go the opposite way because I like to be the contrarian, right? I'm going to give them a B. Why? Because even though they played so well at the PO or at their time in the league, do you think that this team had a chance to win the tournament? Do you think that they believe that they had a chance to win the tournament? And my answer is no. Now, we've never seen a team dominate and solely search and destroy and win a tournament. That was their best game mode. They did not lose.
That's a
It's
lie.
my time
That's
to
a
talk.
lie.
It's my time to talk. They did not lose a search. Great, fine. They did not pick up a bad search player. They picked up someone that's pretty good at search and someone who is much better at hardpoint. So if that team can learn to mesh in search the same way and maybe pick up more hardpoints against the top teams, maybe they felt like that's why they did it. Maybe that gives them a better chance to win. I'm gonna give it a B. Yeah, they could have stuck. They were first place, but they did not pick up a bad player. They picked up another player that was on the top team that could bring something else, some new things to their team. I'm matching Ant's time.
Did you give him a point for that search and destroy point? You gave him a point for that.
Wait,
You played COD for 10 years. Teams haven't won events by just being good at search and okay at other game modes.
No.
That's a lie. I won an event. I won PAX by winning all search and destroys and winning 1 hard point a series.
I mean, I understand that, but you have to be decent. I just think we always talk about the teams who are 2, 3, and 5, and we focus on that. The problem is against the best teams in the world, you can't always guarantee those search and destroys, and that is where you struggle against those teams in the hard point. I think for Gen G, the fact is they made a change because yes, they were 6-1 throughout a regular season. They had a chance to go after a young player who was on a very successful team in Midnight, and they had the opportunity to improve the team.
The problem with that is, sorry to cut you off because I have to say it, is when you're a team that loses game 1 and then you win 3 in a row and you make that change, if you're not picking up an absolute superstar that's going to be winning you respawns consistently, you risk losing that chemistry.
Sure.
To win 3 games in a row and to go 6-1 and losing that hardpoint like that, it's chemistry. When you remove a guy, you risk losing that chemistry. You can mess the whole thing up.
All right, guys, we got to move on, though. We got to move. I know there's a lot. All right, one more.
Peck, you said that you didn't see them winning an event. You see them winning an event now with them, boy?
I think that they might have a better chance. If,
Okay.
if their chemistry
That's all-
their chemistry was already ruined, that's why they
Sure,
dropped them. That's
sure,
what they said.
sure. I
They
was
weren't
just
getting
curious.
along anymore. So if the chemistry's already ruined, then that point's invalid. And you just think
They'll get top 8.
And you can see this is going to be, you have a lot of different opinions, a lot of different roster changes. So next up in Roster Mania is UYU. And, well, they added another Midnight player to their roster. They added Parzilian. Ben, what's your grade of this roster?
You know, I'm going to be very generous. I think this is one of the few changes which made a lot of sense and you can look at and think was a good change. Give him an A-. I really do think it was a good change. Here's why. Skies, number 47 in respawn KD, a 0.97. You pick up Parzilian, who's actually number 2 out of everyone in the Pro League at 1.27. So you're going to get way more consistency there. You're going to get a little more slaying as well in your respawns. It's only going to help them. Because UYU right now, pretty average. I wouldn't say necessarily a great team or a terrible team. In terms of search and destroy, 0.92 for a 0.89. Nothing really changing there, Joe.
All right, so you're going for an A-, a little bit more on the positive side,
Bring in
right?
the good vibes.
Yeah, we're going to the positive side. Nameless, for you, what do you think about Parzilian added to UYU?
I'm going to kind of agree with Ben. I'm going to give him an A there. I think it's a great change. I think that you had, 2 superstars in Mayhem and Methods that were going off for you in the Pro League. You go 3-4, so not the worst of showings, and you get rid of your main AR who wasn't playing too good in Skies, and you pick up Parzilian, who is that backbone, who will give you space on the map to do what you need to do. And when they weren't going off, they were losing games. So I think Parzilian opens up the map for them, and I think they get a lot better in respawn.
All right, so you think that these guys are going to be a lot better, a lot of help, right? Really, it was with UYU throughout that Pro League. If Methods and Mayhem didn't play well in respawns, they weren't doing too well.
And they had to because they were terrible at search.
And I think for UYU, being 3-4, better than what we expected, right? Maybe adding another solid player to that roster. Pac-Man, what do you think out of this
I'm
one?
going to agree with them. I'm going to give it an A. Because you add Parzilian, he's a model of consistency. That's what I like to call him. He's always posted up, holding down his lanes for his teammates. 1.13 in the POQ, 1.2 in the league. And more importantly than just his numbers, I feel like he can bring some of what Midnight did to this team. Like, he can give them things that make them more consistent. Because we always used to brag about, like, Midnight's teamwork and how they were working together. Their pacing was so on point. Bringing a player from that team could only help. The only issue I might see is that he's really slow and Methods is really slow. So one of them is going to have to step up their pace. That's like the only issue I see, but I give it an A.
And that's really what a lot of people have been talking about, right? It's just how slow are these going to be? Are they going to be able to play at a very quick pace? And, well, up next, the next roster change, we're going to focus on accelerating. Well, do they look drastically different with a lineup now of Jet Li, Brack, M. Ruiz, Profizi, and Skies? Nameless, we're going to start with you. What do you think of Accelerate?
In terms of the Accelerate changes, their last team, I think this team is better than the last Accelerate. Just in terms of, you pick up, Jet Li and Brack, and I thought Brack was one of the better players on that team. He was one of the more intelligent players as well, and we seen him just going off in every game mode. It wasn't just search or just control. He was good at all game modes. And you got Profizi, who was solid when they had fastball on the team. So when he does have people who are aggressive, he can play well. But just looking at this team, it's tough to see the chemistry working. It's 5 players on the rise, and
So what's your grade?
kind of C.
C. You're going with the C. All right. So we'll see what
It's
happens.
tough. It's tough, man. Like, it's not the situation they all wanted to be in.
All right. So Accelerate, Pac-Man for you. What do you think?
I'm going to give it Accelerate a B. Now, I don't really agree with how the Accelerate organization went about what they did. It's like, we have to say that that's just a weird way to go about it. But if we're just talking about in terms of the roster, the last team was 1-12 in hardpoint. 1-12. So right there, you're 1-12 in hardpoint. That means you have to be a phenomenal search team because you can't lose any other game types. You're 1-12. They were not. They're a decent search team. 3-4 in control. Just not a good roster. So adding Jet Li and Brack, like you said, I think Brack was probably their best player. You add those guys, it can't go wrong. Yeah, they have chemistry issues, but you can put together a random 10s team and do better in hardpoint than they were doing.
All right. So he's going with a B. Ben, last one up. Accelerate. What do you think?
A C, first of all, I don't know what you were thinking when you said a C, but that doesn't matter. I'm going with an
There's
A.
other moves you
I'm
can
going
make.
with an A.
You're with an A?
I'm not necessarily saying the players they picked up are, God's gift to Call of Duty, because they're not. Sorry, no disrespect. But you're 1-6 in the league. You were 1-12 in hardpoint. to Pac's point, you could have literally got a tens team that could have come out and beat them. That's how truly bad it was. The players they picked up, Jet Li, Brack. Brack's been absolutely phenomenal. I think Jet Li can bring a lot in Search and Destroy specifically. Emma Ruiz, Profizi, and Skies. It's a team who is going to be better than 1-6, and drastically better than 1-6.
All right, so
Drastically
everyone.
better.
Yes,
That's
they're
a-
1 and 12.
Their matches weren't even competitive.
Yeah, it wasn't. There was nothing
They were
close.
losing
I
250
think
to
with
60 in
some of the
hard
changes some of these other teams made to get better, it's going to be even tougher to pick up wins now. And I just think this team doesn't stack up well against. I mean,
But
like,
comparative
they're
to what it
beating Denial
was.
and
No,
maybe-
comparative to what it was.
Yeah, comparative to what it was,
That's the
okay, but
point.
I'm grading the roster change, and the way that you make a roster change, you have to compete with the other teams around there. There's other players outside of the league that you could have
But
tried
if
to
they
get.
didn't change their roster, would they have won ever?
I mean,
At
you
least
could.
they- at least they
we're
have a
talking
chance
about
to
the
win.
roster
Would they be
change.
2 and
There are other
24
players-
I'm
in
simply
2
talking
times?
about their
There's
previous
other
roster.
players
played-
they could have
how I
explored
looked at
picking
it.
up.
Okay, but those other players have to sign with Accelerate.
I mean, yeah.
That's the truth.
All right,
But
so
we're
we're
talking
gonna
about
move on
Accelerate's
now.
roster change. If they could
We're
have made
moving
it
on.
happen,
We're
they
moving
should have
on.
got other
Next
players, in my
question.
opinion.
All right, so we're going to move on now. We talked a lot about these Midnight players that have gone to different teams, and now we're going to focus on Midnight, which ended up a much different team with Llama God, Saints, Parasite, Blastful, and Lacefield rounding things out. A much different Midnight roster. Ben, how do you grade it? Okay.
He asked me how I grade it. They were number 2 down there. They were number 2 in their division. You knew that, right? They
I
were number
did.
2.
I
They were
got
5. They were
5
5 and 2. Did you know that? They were 5 and 2. They were. I'm not even gonna dignify with a response, Joe. I'm giving him an F.
Just an F right away. That's all you got to say. Just a little
That's all I need to say. Disgraceful.
So, all right. How do you think this new team is going to perform?
Maybe good. Who cares?
All right.
They were 5 and 2. You had a fantastic team. I'm not even gonna dignify with a response, Joe.
All right, so Ben you're feeling strong about that one. That is, that came
That was
back.
skillful.
That
Whoa, that was actually elite.
I don't think you could do that again
No.
if you tried.
No,
No, you couldn't. All right, Pac, Midnight, what do you think?
Oh, that's an F. That's a clear F. F minus. Is there worse grades than Fs? That's it. They were 9 and 1 in hardpoint. They were 5 and 2. We were talking about where Midnight could place. We were all excited. Were they the best Dark Horse team we've ever seen? We've never seen anything like that. You switch out the team. It doesn't even matter who you switched out for. All those players they brought in individually, fine. They're great. You brought in a team that, let's be honest, we know they're not going to be the same roster come London. Historically speaking, they're not going to make it to London. They're just not. You put Parasite in a role where he's the main AR. He didn't even want to do that. You just threw together a team and you got rid of a team that could have been one of the up-and-coming great teams in Call of Duty. That's an F.
So we got a couple of failures from our boys on the outside, Nameless in the middle. What do you think out of Midnight and this roster move?
I mean, after what they just said, it's just a straight up F, right? Like, you had a team that was on the rise. They had the communities backing the community support, and you somehow let that team go due to some terrible decisions made on the organization's side. And now you have a team of Lace, Parasite, Saints, Blast, and Llama. Only one player qualified through the PLQ to get into the actual Pro League. You got 4 players who failed to qualify. You got 2 of them who were on the same team, and then another 2 who were on the same team who both choked. So it's like, these guys might be solid individually, but clearly they didn't work well when they were on the same team, and now y'all put them together. I think they'll be okay. Not very good.
4 DNQs for that.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to, it really does stink. I really wanted to watch this Midnight roster compete at Fort Worth. I mean, there was just who's your dark horse, who could potentially end up in the finals. It just felt like Midnight, they were ahead of the curve. They knew how to play the game. People were learning from them. Now, the only good thing for those teams like Accelerate and UIU is you get a couple of pieces, Gen G, and you can learn from those players, so we'll see what happens to those guys. But let's go ahead and take a look at our standings, and I believe that's going to put Benson and Pac-Man in the lead for the top 2 spots. So unfortunately, Amos, we'll,
unbeaten
see
one
See you
falls.
later.
This was rigged. That was collusion at its finest.
You gotta-
Ben asked to see my notes before the stream
It's
started
unbelievable.
today.
My notes were on the floor.
We've taken down the unbeaten
The
one.
unbeaten one has fallen, Pac-Man. The unbeaten, the greatest of
I'm
all
out.
time.
I'm out.
The greatest of
I'm
all
out.
time.
I'm out.
Never lost.
Undefeated.
He's
Lost now.
I mean, he's ready.
He's going full Shaq right now. He's going full
This is
Shaq.
like when Tyson lost.
And it is down to 2, Pac-Man versus Benson. The winner, of course, will enter the Smack Talk Winner Circle presented by Astro Gaming. We've covered pools and roster mania. Now that we're so close to the start of CWL Fort Worth, I gotta know, boys, who is winning the event? Pac, you're up first. We're gonna start with you. It's a tough question.
The clear favorite to win Fort Worth is Optic Gaming. And I know Ben knows that too. So, Ben, I would love a gentleman's agreement. If we could just argue another team.
Okay.
We both agree. Big
I'll
Brucey's
go
back.
with that, yep.
Optic is the clear favorite.
Sure, I agree.
Let's argue another team.
Okay.
All right. So, my favorite to win, CWO Fort Worth, is Splice. Now, I know Splice struggled in their second week of the Pro League. Accuracy and Jerd probably had the worst week they could have. But in that first week, we were looking at that team like, is this the most dominant team that we've seen at the league so far? At Vegas, they were the team that challenged Optic Gaming the closest. Their match was so incredibly close. In my opinion, they have the best player in the game on their team in Temp. If they're all firing on all cylinders, they're an incredibly scary roster. All they have to do is come together and fix those mistakes that they had in the second week, and they could be that team to challenge Optic to win this tournament for sure. I don't see how you can argue against Splice. They're too good when they're firing on all cylinders. They're way too good.
Fair enough. Joe, Pack's in the lead, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go Optic Gaming. I think they're the clear. I'm kidding. Okay. I will do it like that. I'm thinking Thieves. Obviously, Joe, you were there when the end of last season, I had that bold prediction. Didn't even know the team. I said, I'm thinking 100 Thieves come out and look good.
You had an idea.
Rough idea, right? Rough idea. They were doo-doo. They were bad. bad, actually. PLQ somehow finished top 2, not sure how. Since then, though, Priesta. He is 100 Thieves. He is Nadeshot's holy grail. Okay? He is an incredible player and an incredible asset to that team. He's improved them not only in the game, but out the game as well. It feels like all good vibes. Everything seems great. You see the players hanging out, and you think, okay, that looks like a team, an actual team, a team, if you will. But in terms of their actual performances, everything is clicking for 100 Thieves right now. They are in a good run of form, and I think that's going to be important to try and steamroll that through, because when push comes to shove, there are some really good teams out there. Splice, to your point, Patman, is definitely one of them that is going to contend. There can be no argument there. If you don't think they will, you're an idiot. But 100 Thieves definitely can on their day, and if they do have some good days come Dallas, I think they can win a championship.
Okay, so I agree with you. Priesta's nuts. Priesta's amazing. Priesta's fantastic.
Insane.
Priesta is a god.
Yes.
When Priesta played against Splice, he was a ghost on the map. Splice 3-0'd 100 Thieves with the greatest of ease. It was the easiest match. It was one of their easiest matches of the entire Pro League. They were able to shut down the sub power that 100 Thieves has. Jerd and Temp, when they're firing, are a better sub duo than Enable and Priesta. Because Priesta and Temp cancel each other out, in my opinion. And then you have Jerd, and when he's going at a high level, he's better at this game currently than Enable.
Which is a good point. But recent run of form, how good has Jerd been?
You mean 1 week? So we're going off one. We can't. So
But is that all we have to go off, though?
no, we have a history. We have Black Ops 4 to go
For
off
form? For form.
Of. Okay, well,
Dallas is a week away. The CWL rolls.
So
man,
how were
it
they last
rolls.
week? So what you're saying is all that matters was how good they were last week, and we don't know. We don't know their current form through scrims going into this event.
That's fair enough. But also remember, new patch coming through as well. What effects is that going to have on both
That's
those
true.
teams?
And you spoke to 100 Thieves chemistry and how they seem like friends.
Yep.
Yeah, everyone's friends when they're winning. Remember when Gen G was winning? You remember that? They were great friends. They were a family. They were brotherhood.
Sure.
What happened? They went home. They lost a scrim, and they
crumbled.
dropped a player.
They crumbled.
Yes.
That's
Everyone's
fair.
form.
That's fair.
Everyone looks wonderful when they're winning. Splice lost, stuck together, and they can work through that. You work through your losses. You figure out what you're going to do wrong, what you've done wrong. You can come back stronger, and that's what I think Splice is going to do.
I feel like Splice is a good pick. But again, I just think there's something about the 100 Thieves squad right now in their run of form, everything going correct for them. And they're a team who I think is hungry, not only just as players, but as an organization to beat Optic Gaming as well. And I think that's now ingrained kind of in the organization itself because, again, we both know that they're the heavy favorites coming in.
I don't buy hunger. I don't buy the hunger
Really?
argument. Because
You're a former player. You've been hungry?
Every organization says we're hungry for the win. That's like United's go-to. We're hungry for the win.
but
Every team is hungry for the win.
Fair,
What makes Splice
fair.
not hungry for the win? They were so
Sure.
close to winning last time.
Agreed.
That makes you hungrier, if anything.
Here's
the
the
fact that you were
difference.
right there, you could taste it. They were right at that point to win the tournament, and they let it go.
Here's
that
the
makes
difference,
you
Pac.
hungrier, for
Nate
sure.
Shot. Nate Shot.
Nadeshot's not playing.
No, right. But
Nadeshot
you
is the
think
person.
about everything he did for the Optic Gaming organization as a player, as a streamer, everything. He built a fan base which is absolutely surreal. Now he owns a different organization. The biggest competitor, I think it's fair to say. You think of 100 Thieves, instantly one of the things that comes to your mind is the rivalry with Optic Gaming. It is engraved with that organization. They want to be Optic so badly. You can tell. You just have to speak to any of the players. They know. They're not stupid. Players know as well.
Every
Optic Gaming's
team
going in
wants
as
to
a
beat
heavy favorite.
Optic, and
Sure.
100 Thieves still have to beat other teams. It's not just 100 Thieves versus Optic. This is a tournament we're talking about.
Sure.
And 100 Thieves could lose to many teams, Splice being one of them. Splice like I said, 3-0'd this team you're talking about.
Honestly,
this is not a nade shot versus optic thing.
Pac-Man, I'm so mad you went first because I was going to say Splice. I agree with him. I agree with him.
Yeah, you think
tough.
Splice is the favorite?
I think they're the favorite outside of Optic Gaming. I think it's hard to argue anything else.
All right, and after all those great points we had from our contestants, that's going to make Pac-Man our winner. And well, Pac-Man, you know when you win. You're going to the Smack Talk Winner Circle presented by Astro Gaming. Pac, as the champ for the week, your prize is 60 uninterrupted seconds. Say whatever you want to whoever you want. Put on that golden headset. Your time starts right now.
Not gonna lie, this feels good. Feels good to be the champ again. It's been a while. It's been a while.
It's been a couple weeks.
It's been a while. Nameless. This is going directly to you, my friend, my duo, my guy. You sucked. You legitimately sucked. We heard so much about the undefeated, the unbeaten. Every single time that graphic would come up, it would say 100% next to your name. I gotta hear every day about how you're so good on this show. You are undefeated. No one can out-argue you. Where were you today? Despicable performance. You came underprepared. It showed. Me and Ben beat you into the dirt. You have to be better. Matter of fact, we need Clint back because I want to beat him. Beating you simply wasn't fun. When does Clint come back? Nameless, be better. You let me down, just like when you used to play the game.
Oh my.
That's all I have. That's all I have to say. Had a wonderful time.
All right, well, that was a Smack Talk and a half. I like that one. That was fun. That was a good job, Pac-Man. Bravo to you, man. That was a great Smack Talk. All right, guys, let's take a look at that graphic to, show our show wins. It won't show Nameless with 100% anymore. But that's going to add another W into the column of Pac-Man, and that is going to do it for the show. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for watching.